I don't wanna wait in vain for your love. I don't wanna wait in vain for your love. From the very first time I laid my eyes on you, girl, my heart sang, follow through. But I know now that I'm way behind your line, but the waiting feel is fine. So don't treat me like a puppet on a string, 'cause I know how to do my thing. And don't talk to me as if you think I'm done. I wanna know, baby, the day you gonna come. See, I don't wanna wait in vain for your love. I don't wanna wait in vain for your love. 'Cause summer is here and I'm still waiting there. Winter is here and I'm still waiting there. It's been 3 years since I've been knocking at your door, and I still can knock some more. Ooh girl, is it feasible? I wanna know, for I to knock some more. Oh, you see, in life I know life is full of grief, but your love is my relief. Tears in my eyes run, baby, tears in my eyes run. While I'm waiting, baby, while I'm waiting for your love. I don't wanna wait in vain for your love. I don't wanna wait in vain for your love. I don't wanna wait in vain for your love. I don't wanna wait in vain for your love. I don't wanna wait in vain for your love. I don't wanna wait in vain for your love. I don't wanna wait in vain. 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 It's your love that I'm waiting on. Is my love you're running from? Is your love I'm waiting on? Is my love you're running from? Is your love I'm waiting on? Is my love you're running from? Thank you, people. I think I've gotten that right, but just to open us up. This is just a part of the music. Now we go to the details of the analysis. I hope you have enjoyed that music. We'll check it in the end. Now we are getting to another piece which, we wait for, Knowledge is hard to get, so you got to be patient with it. It comes in small bit kaizen. You can't rush it. It's just one of those things which is, it's very, very, it comes in bits. That's good. We have been analyzing philosophy. I've gone into several sections of philosophy, and I started with Martin Heidegger, the person who actually put it in the discussion of being and time. What is being? What are the entities that makes us human beings? The existence. To him, existence is what human beings are involved in. Nothing else. You want to survive in this world. And he analyzes how we become human beings knowledgeable by just digging out the issue of being. And philosophy, is the science of being. Using language, the method being phenomenology. That is the concept Martin Heidegger perpetuates. Hegel is attaining of consciousness of human beings is what makes us knowledgeable. So did African people have that ability? Palisade Temple, as I discussed earlier, gets us there. Palisade Temple. Marcel Grauel also agrees, concurs. But because they were influenced by the Western values, they agree Africans had philosophy, but they wanted them to philosophize within the spirituality of Christianity and again run their lives or philosophize using foreign languages, but retaining their own indigenous vernacular as sub or primary. Secondary. So that's what we've been analyzing. Don't get lost. We are just trying to see and to dialogue, to discourse. Philosophy really, is it what Rorty said? It's just, you can't transcend language and say a human being will acquire knowledge through philosophy, which is the study as a science of being. It has got to be done within language. You cannot jump outside the skin of a human being and exist still like as a human being. No, you got to be within your skin, and the skin is a language. And you can know how important the skin of a human being is. Take out the skin, there is no human being. Nothing transcends language. Nothing transcends language. And that's an important concept to realize there. And I think Richard Rorty in 1979 in his book, The Mirror of Nature, he took us to another level. He took us completely to another level. Now today, because we want to tie the things we're studying, learning about together, parcel them together. And when you go back, might be you read Hegel, existence, he's looking at a human being. For you in this world is existence. And what helps you be what you are, Daisen, and be able to exist apart from identifying those entities which make you able to live comfortably in your environment and you decipher the beings, those entities. And then as you acquire them, you acquire knowledge and you're able to create, innovate. So it starts from way out, because we must realize within the philosophers that I am talking about, there are philosophers who come later. Professor John Mbiti is one. Sheikh Anta Diop is another one. Molefi Asante is another one. They were trying to correct Senghor, the first president of Senegal, Senghor. Kenyatta, President Kenyatta, facing Mount Kenya. These were people who are trying to expose that Africans had a value system using their language. Because once you have a value system using your language, you have knowledge right there. Negritude. And poets like Langston Hughes, Cornel West, W. Du Bois, William Bladen, right there. Frederick Douglass, James Baldwin. All these are philosophers. They are searching for an African, I don't want to use any racial phrases. They are looking for a philosophy which you can say is actually valuable using a certain language there. It has an Afrocentricity, Afro-presentism. Now, the philosophy goes way back. The philosophy of language goes way back. Aristotle is among the first to formalize philosophy of language. Is a serious way. He agreed. The philosophy of language is a serious way. Aristotle, way out in 385, 322 BC. Wakati wa kale huo. Key idea of Aristotle, language is connected to being. Words represent categories of reality. Language reflects reality through terms, names, predicates, and propositions in sentences. That is way out. And you must remember the Greeks also had borrowed a lot from Egypt. That's another story, controversial if you jump into it. But if the Minoa, Crete Islands, when you study the languages of those people and their values, we have AI now. We can use it, artificial intelligence. And it can decipher a lot that actually the Greeks, Ptolemy, they borrowed a lot from the civilization of the Egyptians. But that's a story for another time. And Aristotle also tells us human beings using language use categories. Because when you categorize things using language, then it's easier for you to store them in your oral traditions. You categorize things, biology, philosophy, physics, chemistry, music, categories. He listed 10 kinds of being: substance, quantity, quality, intentions, casual, space, time. There are many, and we have mentioned them somewhere. Just go, you will see. And language maps onto this. And language maps onto this is what puts this all together, a web of knowledge stored in symbols and signs, language. Then you can tell it out. Example, if you say Socrates is wise, means Socrates, a substance, has wisdom, and wisdom is a quality. Quality is a category, and substance is also a category. You see how simple it comes? Language is able to organize things. Diremption, sublation, and antiphysar. I discussed it before, so connect these things together. Comparison with later views. Now we come forward to our time now. Aristotle assumed a natural correspondence between words and world. That means people in the Greek world, in the myth of the Greeks, the Deus ex machina, the gods could come down on a stage and act for human beings to see them. They were participatory elements in the Greeks' lives. Zeus could come and participate in their daily life. The living and the dead were kinsmen in the Greeks' era. You cannot divorce the living and the dead. They were all kinsmen. Rorty, now 1979, Rorty comes in. Much later, criticizes this kind of idea, arguing nothing transcends language. Nothing transcends language. There is no word out there that language neatly describes. Language creates its own frameworks. All this that we talk about, we create our own world using language. Nothing transcends language. A world cannot be described or perceived outside language. And it's good actually Rorty came about because he changed philosophy. Philosophy is a science of being. It's a science of being. But it has to work within language. René Descartes. I am using philosophers from the Western world because the argument here is that Rorty helped us to understand the Western philosophers. Bertrand Russell, not very much Bertrand Russell, but people and philosophers who came later. Hampstead and Murray Huston and Einstein, the bell curve. Einstein and Murray in the bell curve. You know, people who wrote books which, you know, they have a tint of trying to reduce people because of a certain kind of ethnicity. They belong to an inferior race. That's what I'm going at, you know, and I'm looking at it saying, is that really true? No, it's not true. There is nobody out there inferior if he has a language. People are all equal. And that's not really my argument, but what I'm talking about, you see the sense of it. René Descartes introduced the concept of mind-body dualism. Mind, in brackets, thinking substance, is distinct from body, in brackets, extended substance. We extend it outwards. The mind is internal. As we say, the mind is that abstract, is a power of knowledge, signs and symbols. That's what makes us thinking people. The brain is the biological organ which houses the mind, but the mind is is always the human nerves. It's a whole human body. It's a mind. But the brain, we say, that's where the central thing is a web of signs and symbols. Language indicates words. Language belongs to thinking mind, res cogitans. You'll meet these words a lot of time. Res cogitans, a thinking human being. I think, so I am. Animals, for example, do not have a language because they are like Maya machines. Might be later with the AI, artificial intelligence, we discover that that concept is not really true. Octopus have been taught to think deeply. Res and animals are considered res extensa. They are external, extensa. Examples. Humans can generate infinite sentences, whereas machines or animals cannot because of the infinite creativity of their mind. Comparison with Roti, because Roti is central in my discussions. He's my mentor. Actually, this idea that language, nothing transcends language, I actually acquired it from him in 1995 in a conference at East West Center in Hawaii. All American philosophers had come to Hawaii in 1995, and I listened in presence of Roth himself. He gave a paper on his book, Philosophy and the Mirror of Nature, which he had written in 1979, and there was an upheaval. There was almost a riot when he was giving that lecture. That's another story for another time. Roti later reject Descartes' pure mind as a source of truth. He says it's not a source of truth. So Roti is starting to differ with Western philosophers, that philosophy is not a science for searching for truth. It's a science to study being. The science of studying being. For Roti, the mind is embedded in language. There is no pure mental access to reality, independent of linguistic structures. There's nothing you can construct outside the language. So the idea of Descartes, the one I discussed in the other program, that ideas come externally and there is a factory within our minds where ideas, all the ideas we talk about come from there. No. Awareness, human awareness, is a linguistic affair. Full stop, period. Now, we forward a little because I'm revisiting Roti, and then I bring somebody else who brings another concept during a certain time. That was 331 and 322, Aristotle. And then we came to Descartes. Yes, the other time. Now we come to Lebanese, 1645, 1716. This you can see is almost coming to the time where people become like explorers, Enlightenment, Renaissance, and the white people go to Africa, they get slaves, and they start dehumanizing other human beings. And philosophy is evolving. They need the philosophy of others, as I discussed earlier, Bruegel, Levi Bruegel, Marcel Grauel, and Paracete Temples. They're discussing about the people they have colonized. But Lebanese here is put into picture in philosophy of language. Characteristica universalis. Lebanese Lebanese dreamed of a perfect logical language, a universal calculus, where all reasoning could be done mechanically. Can you imagine? That's their spatial intelligence somehow binary, 1 and 0. Language as calculation. If we had the right symbols, we could resolve all philosophical disputes by computation. Language would perfectly reflect reality. It would reflect in French, réalité. Example. If justice and law could be assigned logical formulas, disputes would become math problems. Justice and fairness and law would have formulas. And if you are guilty, we could calculate using a formula and we'll find you're guilty by entering parameters. We would use statistics to solve our problems. I think with artificial intelligence, we don't know whether that will become a reality. You know, now we are getting into the essence of things. Will these things really become true or useful? Let me use the word useful. Comparison. Roti sees such dreams as naive. Language is not a mirror of nature, nor a perfect tool to calculate reality. Later, thinkers like Wittgenstein also smash this dream, showing how messy and game-like language really is. Language is actually a game, and it operates with rules. Let's say you're playing lacrosse. You go to play using certain rules. Go to play lacrosse using certain rules. You can use lacrosse rules for rugby or basketball, or for that matter, soccer. The rules are different. And also this one is perpetuated ably by Michel Foucault, the French philosopher. Biology has its own language. Also Charles Sanders Peirce, in the philosophy, in the concept of firstness, secondness, and thirdness. Gavagaya, Oman van Quine, Mulefia Santa, in Afrocentrism. Every language has, every value center has a language to use. The Africans have their center. They cannot all the time borrow from Eurocentric center. Mulevi says that. You borrow from the center of your language. Your values are centered somewhere different from the Eurocentric values. So language it's like a game. So African languages have their unique rules. So you can see English can never have the same rules like the Kikuyu. Kikuyu language has its own rules. That's a discussion for another time. And we continue now, we get to this Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant, you can never do Western philosophy and understand it purely and understand it correctly if you don't visit with Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant is a giant just like Hegel. He's just a giant like Sheikh Anta Diop. And he's also just somebody like Joachnan, the late Joachnan. I hope he passed some time ago, the gentleman from New York, Harlem, Joachnan. He's an Egyptologist. He saved a lot, and Jeffries, Edward Jeffries, people like those, you must visit them. Kwame Appiah, Lucius Outlaw, because he was in that Hawaiian meeting. He was among the very few black people who were there, Lucius Outlaw. These are great philosophers. Odera from University of Nairobi, Okot P.B. Tech, our friend the giant, Wole Soyinka, Mandela, Nelson Mandela, Biko, Hani, because Derrida dedicates the symposium or the lecture he gave on the specter of Marx, the state of the dead and mourning, and the New International. He dedicated that to Chris Hani, a giant. Ngugi wa Thiong'o, my friend and mentor. All these people have dealt with these difficult things. Amy Cizé, Frantz Fanon, Amira Baraka, Malcolm X, all these great thinkers, Minister Farrakhan, all these great thinkers. And Joachnan, late Joachnan, he helped us so much because he spoke Arabic and he read Arabic. And there is so much in the archives of the Arabs, because on and off, they were among the rulers of the world. Kenya, the other day, they were ruling the strip of Mombasa to Pemba. So if you read Arabic, you will find a lot of philosophy in the books written in Arabic. So we come to Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant revolutionized philosophy by arguing the mind structures reality through categories: causality, substance, and unity. The mind structures reality through categories using language. We said it earlier because Aristotle had said that language, according to Kant, reflects the structures imposed by our minds on raw sense data, the phenomena. Reflects the structures imposed by our minds on raw sense data. It's like the clay. Raw sense data is like the clay. We mold it because it is the phenomena, using language to reflect reality. So you can see language is a huge thing. Without it, nothing transcends language. So when you have language, and this is what I'm trying to say, all African indigenous people, wherever they were, aborigines, as funny as they look today if they were left alone, and we went in 2030 and looked at them, we would see these people with so much knowledge. And if they borrowed from Western concept and borrowed from Africa, We visited them in their own natural state, the way they were, and they have advanced through time using their own language. You could find that now they were the ones taking us to outer space. But all their values were destroyed because that was a colony where the British sent convicts. Australia was a jail for unwanted British. If you were jailed in British, you killed somebody, and you did not get the hanging, you were taken to Australia. These are facts of other settlers went there willingly, but most of the people who are criminals, they were taken to Australia. And sorry for me for saying that to Australian. I don't mean in any way to offend you, but it's in history books. We cannot speak about things in themselves, which the Greeks in quotes called it noumena, Noumena, noumena. We cannot speak about things themselves, only about their appearances as processed by the mind. You don't speak about things themselves because words stand in for things. So the words that you use in a sentence stand for things in our environment. And things to be defined has to be processed by language. They cannot transcend language. Nothing can transcend language. So when you use a word or language, be very, very careful. Everything you see people doing to each other is because of words somebody has said somewhere. Even the issue of how somebody looks, his color, has never been derogatory until it was given a philosophy. Color of somebody was given words which were not good, were derogatory. Without those words, people will not look down upon other people. That is dealt very well by Kwame Appiah. That he says there is no racism, there is only language describing what blackness is. Because my mother would say, "Oh, you have beautiful blackness." Beautiful blackness. In African language, there is beautiful blackness. A person who had the blackness like the one you get people from the Dinkas, the Nuas, and the Sudanese, those were the beautiful people of Africa. That's a subject for another time. So things get value from the words you give them. Meaning gives use. A sentence is always attributed to use, its usefulness, not its truth. Forgive me. Example, we don't know the tree in itself, only the tree as experienced. As we experience the tree, we understand it. Oh, that's a banana tree. That's a mango tree. We have now to look around and call that a mango, call that a banana. Otherwise, the tree is meaningless. And our words describe that structured experience, which I said is a tree. Rorty, our friend, draws on this Kantian limit. He argues there is no external position from which to describe reality without the mediation of language. Language is always already interpretive. No pure knowledge is beyond it. Hegel. Now Hegel comes in, and I'm going to deal with Hegel, then I'm going to stop because these topics, sometimes they can be long, but I hope you will sustain this one. We are already at 40 minutes. Hegel came in 1770 to 1831, Dialectics and Language. Hegel develops dialectical method of looking at language. Reality unfolds through contradictions and their resolution. Everything we conceptualize, it comes through contradictions, and then we resolve the contradictions. Thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. You have visited those things when you're dealing with an analysis. You take a subject, a thesis, you'll analyze it, antithesis, you get antithesis, and then you will synthesize the two, contradictions and resolutions, and then you'll get a synthesized concept of something. You might get something completely a new paradigm. Like Darwin, Charles Darwin, the evolution of human beings. He synthesized things, and he came with a new. We started from small creatures of the sea. Somebody like Thomas Kuhn, the scientific revolution, he also said, we synthesize things, we come out with different paradigms. But there is never a complete paradigm. There are sharp ends to every paradigm, and it is improved over time. You might think this paradigm is the best now, but a few years you discover it's not even a paradigm. There is a paradigm shift. Language for Hegel is essential for self-consciousness. You can only become self-conscious through language, nothing else. So even Hegel himself agreed, self-consciousness can never come onto somebody unless he has a language. That's a very interesting, self-conscious people. So it means all indigenous people, they had a language. They had self-consciousness. So you see, the Westerners themselves have helped people like me. If you read deeper, you can borrow. I'm not praising them. I'm helping them explain a case which we had misunderstood. And there is no problem, even in a court of law, to use facts, and they are legal. They can be checked to prove a point you're trying to bring up somewhere. And if people are convinced, hurrah, they say, oh, it's okay. This gentleman has convinced us, although much later in 2025, that actually the only thing a human being needs to have is a language to acquire knowledge. The other things, contributory things, you'll hear many arguments. Environment, if you are rich, you have all amenities of the world and with you and everything. You can be rounded in education and all this, but those are environmental facts, external facts from the mind. They can influence. If you are not very healthy, you might not be able to educate yourself very nicely because you're kind of shortchanged, So those are different things, but I'm saying language is essential for self-consciousness. The world spirit, which the Germans in quotes call Geist, becomes conscious through language, history, and culture. Words are not fixed. Their meanings evolves. There were times people considered Africans heroes when they talked of Hannibal becoming the great general who conquered, Europe. The Africans were considered heroes until Jordan Winthrop, the origin of racism in America, if you read him, they had to philosophize and kick out Hannibal's philosophy and say Africans are 2/3 animal. 2/3 human beings and 1/3 animals. Then they were fit to be enslaved. That's a story for another time. Now, I will stop here. We will continue because these lectures have been ongoing for long. And don't get tired, because in knowledge you will discover something you did not know before, and it can help you immensely to solve an issue which will come later. Like you must thank Charles Ogletree, who went and studied the issue of reparation. Late Charles, I think it's Charles Ogletree. He was a scholar. He was a scholar in Harvard Department of Law. He helped the African people in the diaspora see how they can be repatriated from the misery of legacy of slavery. He gave it a formula how you can calculate reparation and how much the African people are owed by the West if there were to be a reparation. That's just by the side, using language. Until we meet next time, this is your host, Gilbert Githere, saying ciao ciao until we meet again.